You're now listening to the smooth sounds of life after debt. I'm your host, the Marcus Garrett. Let's get started with this week's episode. And this is the drop. Tiffany Grant is a self-proclaimed money nerd and proud of it. She lives and breathes finances, and after years of giving impromptu advice to family and friends, she said, why not start a blog and podcast? Welcome to the show, Tiffany.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
Tell the audience a little bit about Money Talk with Tiff.
Sure. So Money Talk with Tiff is a financial education platform. So like Marcus said, I live and breathe finance. So Money Talk with Tiff is a financial education platform. And I just aim to teach people about their money, about ways that they can make, spend, invest, and save. So I kind of hit on some of everything. So kind of think of it as like Finances 101.
And is it the same name for the blog and website? Where can they find the most likely podcast?
Yes. So Money Talk with Tiff is the podcast and the brand, but the website is moneytalkwitht.com. And on that website, you can find my blog, which I started in 2017. I actually just uploaded my 200th article. So it's plenty to go over there. And that's where you can pretty much find my home base, all my social media links to the podcast, savings challenges, things like that.
And if you're new here, this is the Life After Debt with the Marcus Garrett. The Life After Debt segment is the award-winning where my guest and I share motivational money stories about how to turn your dreams into dollars. If you've tried other debt-free plans, and it's probably a new year when you're listening to this, but repeatedly failed to reach Life After Debt, then click the link in your show notes or visit themarcusgarrett.com/debt-free for a free PDF. So as you heard there, Tiffany, new year, new me, or at least that's what my unclever self was able to think of. Almost cursed there, but I forgot this is a family-friendly portion of the show. So we'll assume it's 2023. We've survived a pandemic in another year. What's step one on our money journey?
Yes. So step one on our money journey, when we're thinking about our new year, new me, we kind of think the refresh, right? And so I always tell people just do an inventory of where you are currently, right? So we can't make a plan unless we know where we are. And so I would say that would be our step one. Figure out where are we at? How much are we making? How much are we spending? How much, if we are investing, how much are we investing? How much of our income does that equate to? All of those different kind of statistics you want to find out about where you are. Then once you find out where you are, then think about, okay, last year, let's look back at last year, right? Where did I go right? Where did I go wrong? What lessons did I learn? I feel like, we go year in, year out, and we don't think about just doing a backtrack. So looking back and seeing where we came from. And a lot of times we've accomplished so much over the course of a year, but we don't look back and recognize our accomplishments. And that can be super helpful, especially when you're dealing with a concept like money, where a lot of people feel ashamed or embarrassed or what have you. Look back at your previous accomplishments and see what you did. That'll give you that extra boost as you start this new year.
If folks want to check their show notes, this will be there. I'm making this. I do future commitments, and then I got to rush behind the scenes and actually get them done. But there'll be an accountability tool. It's very simple. One that I used, to your point, was I started a notepad. It started with a whiteboard in 2018, and I did quarterly goals, and our people with our vision boards. So yeah, I tried to avoid that term for many years, but ultimately that's probably what it was. But then I just moved it to a notepad, and so at the top of the list I have calls to actions. What will make me money this week? And I try to keep that between 3 to 5. And then the second list, all on the same notepad. I'm speaking for iPhone users, obviously greatest users in the world. I don't even know what it is for an Android. Y'all can figure it out.
Right. I agree. Go ahead.
The second list is most important task. And then I have under that the 5 Ps. I'm going to the list because I'm going to cheat. I always forget the 5 Ps. And it's publish. I'm stalling so I can get to it. Wrong list. Under most important task, I have my calls to action. It's pitch, publish, product, profile and partnership. And I got that from A Key Person of Influence, the book. So I have a video for all this, and I'll link to y'all in the show notes. Probably be a YouTube short, because I'm trying to expand on YouTube, where you should be following me at the Marcus Garrett. And then I just listed, I move as I go through those items to my 2022 accomplishments. And so I have like this list, probably 100 things here. And I think what happens with folks, I would assume that you're ones that you have a podcast and a blog, when you're a content creator, producer, just high functioning person, it always feels like I haven't done enough. In my mind, it feels like I haven't done anything. And so now I can't lie to myself and do that. I think it was someone said, shit on yourself, what I should have done, because I got a list of 99 things that I actually accomplished in a podcast ain't one. So what I was going to ask you there is, do you have any tools that you use, or any additional recommendations for like how can they hold themselves accountable and see what they've accomplished?
Yes. So I'm a tech nerd. Okay. So people that follow me know my platform. They know that I am a tech nerd. I have embraced that. I live in that. And that's where I spend a lot of my money. But the thing is, I use a lot of tools for a lot of different things. So when it comes to kind of keeping track. So with my business, like you, Marcus, we're content creators, right? And a lot of times when we feel like, oh, I should have done this, or I didn't do enough for the year, or I didn't do enough this week, or whatever, it's because we're not looking at our statistics. We're not looking at the stats that really matter. And so for me, and just with my business, it's looking at, okay, if the podcast is important to me, right? Because I've been heavily focused on my podcast this year. I wasn't looking at the stats, but now I am, because I'm like, now I need to know where I am. Am I making progress? Things like that. Because if I don't, then there's nothing, I feel like I haven't done anything. But thinking about whatever industry you're in, whatever financial goals or career goals or what have you that you have, think about what's an important key performance indicator. And now I'm kind of telling on myself because my background's in HR. So this type of stuff is super important when it comes to businesses. And whether or not you're a business owner, it's important when you come to your personal brand and your personal business. And so think about what is a key performance indicator. So let's say, for instance, one of your goals is to spend more time with your kids. Okay. Well, how are you tracking that? How are you making sure that you reach that goal? Well, maybe you say, okay, I'm gonna block off maybe 3 days a week where it's uninterrupted time when I get off or what have you. And then that's how I'm keeping track of that. So you can have these KPIs or, there's different terminologies, objectives and key results, whatever. You can have these things set up in whatever way that you want, but it's very important that you know what you're tracking and what's important to you. So that way you can make sure that, oh, I am making progress. Or if it's saving money, maybe it looks like, oh, I'm not going to go out to eat 2 times a week, right? So now you can say, okay, well, last week I didn't go out 2 times. This week, I didn't go out 2 times. I'm making progress. But if you're not tracking anything, there's no way for you to make progress or know that you're making progress. So it will depend on the person. So I know I said all of that to say it depends on the person. It depends on the goals. Now, there's always technology that can help, right? So I'm a firm believer in that, obviously. So when it comes to tracking, like let's say habits, for instance, there's plenty of apps out there. For me, I use one called, dang it, I want to look at my phone. Hold on. So I use so many apps. So for instance, okay, Focus Keeper, right? So I know that when I'm working on a task, it's hard for me to stay focused because I'm always, looking at my phone, checking social media, all those types of things. So I have an app called Focus Keeper, which is a Pomodoro timer, and how that's tracking my time for me. So that's why I'm saying you can track some of everything. So now I'm tracking my time. And in that program, I can put, oh, this is a block for going through emails. So I know once I get through that Pomodoro, because it's 3 different
See, I'd love to help, but you're more sophisticated than me. So people are like, dang, why doesn't he just help her out? I'm like, I ain't got the answers. So,
Not sophisticated. I'm done. But you go through 3 rounds. That's what I'm looking for. See, it wasn't even a sophisticated word.
take your
You
word for
go
it.
you go through 3 rounds on the Pomodoro timer. So I know once I get through those 3 rounds, I have completed a set. And I know once I complete a set, oh, let me look back at everything that I did. And so that's how I'm tracking that. You may have an app like, let me see what else I got on here because I got some of everything. You may have an app like, for instance, I have one called Dividend Tracker or Div Tracker, right? So now this year I've gotten more into dividend investing. And I use that to see, oh, how are my dividends growing? Oh, how much do I think I'm gonna make this year in just dividends, or this month, or today? That type of thing. And so there's so many different ways that you can track whatever goals it is that you're trying to accomplish, but you have to actively seek out what's going to make your life easier in that regard. So I always tell people, business owner or not, please use technology because it makes life so much easier, so much easier.
I'm going to hit one definition. People who are on YouTube, you already know about the magic of editing. This will be on your screen. So, dividend is from Investopedia, which I always pull. What is a dividend? A dividend is the distribution of company's earnings to its shareholders. A dividend is the distribution of a company's earnings to its shareholders and is determined by the company's board of directors. The tool that I'm going to hit that I'm actually, so I'm actually, I guess I'm a free agent right now because either one of these companies can pay me. But I left Mint. What I have to do when I want to try a new tool, actually, it's anything. So we're moving right now, for example. Like I'm going to redo my closet. And I've been saying this for like 2 years, and then I just keep wearing the same shirts. I keep looking like the same dude. But new year, new me. So I'm like, I just threw these clothes away. So I just like these clothes is gone. So I don't even have no option. Like my wife went in there. She's like, "Where's all your shirts?" So I'm like, "Them shirts is gone. Like I ain't got no option to wear those shirts no more because I was in the screen tee phase. New me is." Well, I ain't gonna say that because y'all don't see me in screen tea. Call me out in the comments. So the other thing I got rid of was Mint. I was on Mint for 3 years. Many of y'all heard me blog about it. I wrote an article for Yahoo Finance, and I did like Mint. They've done some things that changed that I don't make no sense to me. I'm sure an engineer somewhere understands what's going on, but it didn't fit. It didn't fit the new me. So I would have stayed there forever. Procrastination by analysis. And so I was like, I'm just gonna delete Mint. Which, if you're on Mint, is an exercise because it got bought out by Intuit. You got to go through 3 different. You got to declare your DNA and your firstborn child, and so you can't just delete
Blood
the app
sample.
like you used to. Yeah, exactly. That took like 4 days. They're like, "Oh, are you sure you want to delete?" They send me another email. We're thinking about deleting it. I'm like, I told you to delete it. You don't have to think about it. It got deleted.
Okay.
I'm moving over to Tiller Money. So Tiller HQ,
Tiller.
who I am not sponsored by yet. Tiller. Will be in your link in your show notes. So you were talking about tracking. I like having a money tracker, and I just kind of felt lost. Like I don't know in your example, but I have someone was asking me like how I manage my social media, and I need 4 tools to do one thing. I just moved to InVideo. Shout out to them. That documentary will be dropping soon. And like I just like our wish, getting to one tool. So Tiller, you're out there. I'm hoping you are that one tool. You're welcome to the show. You're also welcome to sponsor me. Do you have anything on the budget side that you're using? You sound like a new Tiller.
Yes, because like I said, I'm a tech nerd. I think I've tried some of everything, but I used to be on Every Dollar. So that's what I was on for years, at least like 3 or 4 years. But I just this year moved over to YNAB. Now, YNAB, if you're out there listening, I am a free agent. Whatever Marcus just said. No, but now I moved over to YNAB, and kind of along the lines of what you were saying, I realized that Every Dollar wasn't where I was trying to go. It's a great platform and it worked great on my debt-free journey and stuff like that. But with YNAB, I like the platform a little bit better, and it also has more in-depth reporting, which is more of what I'm trying to focus on as well. So YNAB, for instance, you can look back at your whole year and see exactly how much you've spent in every single thing. So like, for instance, If I'm looking back at my business, because I had, and that's another thing too. Every dollar did not allow me, and every dollar, if you're listening, here's a suggestion, um, didn't allow me to have a business and a personal budget. I could only have one. Otherwise, I would have to make a whole new sign in. With YNAB, I could have both under one sign in, which means I only pay once, which is awesome for me. So I have a personal and a business budget in YNAB now. And with that, I can see, okay, how much did I make with this part of my business? How much did I spend on the personal side on this company or what have you? Or for instance, with technology, how much did I really spend in technology this year? I can see all of that in a report at a glance. So that's why I like YNAB better than Every Dollar. But like I said, like I have clients on Every Dollar. I used to be on Every Dollar. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just, it wasn't as robust as what I needed for this next stage in the new me type thing.
I love it. I think Every Dollar, if it hasn't been sold or bought out, is a Dave Ramsey tool. YNAB, for those listening in the audience, if you're not watching on YouTube, which you should be because it's been on your screen, is you need a budget. And that both of those are a zero-based budgeting tool, and I've got a definition here. So zero-based budgeting is a budgeting method where all expenses must be justified and approved in each new period. That's a very fancy way of saying every dollar has a purpose and a place. That's why it's called Every Dollar. And yeah, I've heard great things. I had a financial planner on the show, Rianka. Almost lost the name. And she said that she recommends for her clients YNAB. So you got an advocate for a financial planner, and you'll find in your show notes, if you need a financial planner, 40 Black women in financial planning from Chelsea Cooper. That's an interview that I had as well. If you need a Black woman CFP, or you just want to support one. Is there any other investing tools that you would like or plug for our listening audience? New year, new me.
Yeah, so if people are getting into investing, now let's preface just in case by saying that this is not investment advice. This is for educational and entertainment purposes only. So do not take it as investing advice. So with that being said, I personally use Fidelity. And Fidelity, if you're out there, I am a free agent. I'm gonna do that with all of these different companies I'm mentioning, but I use Fidelity and I love their platform because, and I've tried all of them because like I said, this is just what I do. So with Fidelity, I like them because on the app, I can do my research. I can look at my investments on the fly. I have it set up on auto recurring. So every month I'm putting in a certain amount and then I'll go in and invest that amount. And that's another point too I want to make, because a lot of people think, oh, well, I set up the account, I have my money going in, so it's making money for me, but not yet, not until you invested in something. So you have to actually do that extra step and go in and invest it. So I just want to make that point, but I'll go in and I invest it. And then I also, I'm a financial counselor. So I use a program which financial planners use as well called Right Capital if you're out there, which I'm able to look at what my money looks at over time. So I'm looking at, okay, am I going to have at least $1 by the day I die? And if I look and I'm like, ooh, I'm a little off track, I know where I can recalibrate and recenter on that. So now that's going way beyond. I am a money nerd, so you don't have to do all of that. But like Marcus said, if you want to have a financial planner, they do all of that. So definitely check that out. But there's so many different things that I track in so many different ways. But at the core of everything is technology. Like they say, there's an app for that. So regardless of whatever it is you're trying to do or accomplish, there's an app for that. So I went over my budgeting, I went over my investing, how I keep up with my dividends. Let me see, what other fintech do I use there? Go ahead.
Yeah, I do have a question for you, just since it sounds like you've tested them. Have you tested personal capital in any thoughts if you have?
Yep. Actually, personal capital, I use like way back. I want to say maybe like around when they first started, probably. And it was honestly, in my opinion, it used to be better because it wasn't as like now it's just a lot going on over there. Like when I went into it not too long ago, I was like, oh wow, they changed a lot. Now it's a lot more robust, but sometimes when you're thinking about user experience, it's nice that it's robust, but at the same time, if it's like a beginner user, they might go in and get overwhelmed, because that's what I felt, when I first got in there again, after seeing that how it used to be so simple. Now I went back over and I was like, oh, but personal capital is cool. If you are past, I would say past the like beginner stages. So like if you're past like every dollar, or maybe even mint, I might throw in there. Personal capital kind of goes more in depth when you're looking at kind of the planning side of things. So yes, I have used personal capital in the past.
Appreciate it. So I think we've hit it all. We'll start moving towards the wrap here. I guess I'll just toss this out there. Obviously, you're not in control of it, but if you have any thoughts on it, if it changes any of your comments to date, I'm assuming we're in 2023. I'm assuming we're still in a recession. I'm assuming inflation is still up. So any thoughts, or I guess just any comments around saving habits, money, investing in a world of inflation and possible recession?
Absolutely. And this is something I feel like I cover every Friday on my lives, because, this is what's going on, and it's so important. But in a time when we're experiencing, like, for instance, increased interest rates, right? So as the Fed, it keeps increasing, because probably when this happens, they're probably going to be increasing again. What you want to think about is every time they increase the federal funds rate, which I'll let Marcus have the have the definition there. But every time they increase the federal funds rate, that also increases interest rates on everything else. So when I say that, I'm talking about credit cards, I'm talking about home loans, I'm talking about car loans, I'm talking about savings accounts, right? So when you're thinking about that, and if you're thinking strategically, you're like, okay, well, if they're going to increase the credit card interest rates, for instance, then that might be something you want to start paying off first, right? Because the longer you hold that money in the credit card, the more expensive that money is becoming. Okay, so I've been telling people this whole time, please, y'all, focus on those high interest credit cards, because it's just going to keep getting more and more expensive. I looked at one of my credit cards, and before it was like, I think like 20%. Now it's up to like 27%. So if you think about it, that's $27 out of every $100 that they're keeping just in interest and fees, right? So when you start multiplying that by thousands, because usually the average credit card, the person that holds credit card doesn't have $100 on it, they have maybe 1,000 or more on there, then you can kind of see how expensive that can become. So highly recommend paying off high interest credit card debt if you can. Second thing is saving. Okay, so if you're thinking strategically, interest rates are going up, that means savings account rates are going up. So as of right now, like the high yield savings accounts are actually doing better than, for instance, the market, and I'm speaking broadly. Of course, there's going to be outliers or whatever, but speaking broadly, they're doing better with your money. So I tell people, if you already, first of all, you should have savings. So if you're not already there, start off with, like, let's say you're starting around zero, start off with a $500 goal, okay? And just start saving your money, then bump it up to 1,000, then bump it up to maybe 2,000, then bump it up to a month's worth of expenses, or 3 months worth, 6 months worth, a year, whatever makes you feel comfortable. But you should have that savings in there, because your money is probably doing a better job there. Also, speaking of, when we're in a high inflation environment, a lot of people, and I know this was a buzzword towards the end of 2022, but they were investing in I-bonds. Now, and I'll have Marcus do the definition for you. But with I-bonds, those are government-backed bonds. So you're pretty much lending the government money, and then they pay you back. Now, those do very, very well in high inflation years, because they base their interest rate on what the inflation rate is. And so a lot of people were parking their money there. But with those, also do your research, y'all. I'm all about financial education. We just don't have time to get all into it right now. So make sure you do your research, because you do have to leave your money in there for a certain amount of time in order to not be penalized. So if you do have, a stack of money just sitting there and you're like, I'm not going to need this for an emergency. It's just sitting there. I want it to do the best for me. Then maybe evaluate if an iBond is good for you in this high inflation environment. So there's a lot of different things that people can do. But like I said, pay off your high interest credit card debt, save as much as you can, because you never know what's going to happen. We saw at the end of 2022 when the whole Twitter fiasco and, half the workforce was cut. And that could be any company, that could be at any time. Trust me, I have a background in HR. I've been through mergers and acquisitions. I've been through all of that, and it can happen at any time. So you want to make sure that you are prepared for when those times come. And that is kind of how you prepare for that. So anyway, I know that was a long explanation, but there's so many different ways that people can make the most of their money in times like this. And it just depends on the person. It depends on their goal, and it depends on what's valuable to them, what values they have.
The iBond definition from treasurydirect.gov. With an iBond, you earn a both fixed rate of interest and a rate that changes with inflation. Twice a year, we set the inflation rate for the next 6 months. That's from treasurydirect.gov. You can find out more information where I did, which is the Google. So it's not that complicated to do the research. You mentioned you also go live. Can you tell the people where to find you there?
Yeah, so I go live on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And you can find me at Money Talk with T. Every Friday at 12 p.m., I do what I call Finance Friday Live, and that's going over the pertinent news for that week. So all the financial news. So it's timely. It's, what you need to pay attention to, whenever the Twitter stuff was going on, I was talking about that, what we can learn from the massive layoffs, the student loan forgiveness updates, all that stuff is what I talk about there. So definitely tap in, because it's information that will affect your money in one way or another.
And I believe I'm part of your Facebook group. For the folks on Facebook, where can they find that?
Yeah, so my Facebook group is Let's Talk Money Group. Yes, you do have to put the group at the end, because when I created it, Let's Talk Money was gone. So I was like, well, I'm going to just add group because I'm original. So you can find that there. And in the group, those are kind of like my insiders, right? So anytime I'm thinking about doing something new, or I might post articles in there prior to the Finance Friday Live to kind of start a discussion around them, and then explain them more on the live. So my Facebook group is more for that, and also for you to connect with other people that are interested in money as well.
And as always, you'll find all this information in your show notes, folks, as well on your screen if you're watching on YouTube, youtube.com/TheMarcusGarrett. And this is the wrap. If you enjoyed today's episode, we want to hear from you. Leave a voicemail at the link in your show notes, or visit themarcusgarrett.com. And this episode's question of the week is, what's your favorite accountability tool? New us, we, you. So let us know what your favorite accountability tool is. We dropped a number of them on this show, and you can find those in your show notes as well. Thank you for coming on the show, Tiffany.
Thank you so much for having me. It was my pleasure.